Hey, what's going on? It's Aarava here, and welcome back to the Pitlane Podcast, episode 95 today, to discuss the Italian Grand Prix, and also technically the Belgian Grand Prix in short. Obviously, it's been a long while since our last podcast, I think just over 2 weeks here, but you're back with you, who's your host, myself, Callum, and Tom. But yeah, a real big apologies for a big delay in the podcast. We were meant to try and get one out just before the Belgian Grand Prix. That didn't work out, and then the plan was to record one in person at Spa, but as you guys would have seen, if you actually watched that race weekend, wasn't exactly the best race. You know, we got an exciting lap one, but then honestly, after, you know, the safety car came back in and everyone went green, it was a rather dull race. For us there in person, it was also the same thing, but we enjoyed the weekend as a whole, as, you know, a group of mates. But yeah, we kind of drank away our sorrows after that race and didn't really get around to recording one. And to be honest, if we did, it would have been a useless 20 minutes of just rambling, trying to fill time about lap one, honestly. So probably a good thing that we didn't end up doing anything like that. And then obviously it's been a bit delay. We tried to maybe do one after we came back from Belgium, but then if you saw my YouTube channel, I personally went to Milan then for 2 days, so it just wasn't possible. But huge apologies for the big delay, but also appreciate the patience from all you guys. But we're back now to discuss. That was a rather thrilling Italian Grand Prix, guys. I can't believe I'm quite saying it. It was a fantastic, tense race at Monza.
Awesome. I loved it.
Bloody brilliant. Like, the whole weekend as well. Like, qualifying was amazing. And I didn't even catch that live, but I got goosebumps watching that on record, even though I already knew the result. And then the race itself, it's nice to see genuine overtakes for the lead and multiple overtakes for the lead. And two drivers going head-to-head, and someone who we haven't seen go for a win in a very long time to go and try and get that race victory. I thought it was bloody brilliant, and probably one of the best dry races we've had in a very long time in terms of genuine pace, genuine action, and a surprising race outcome.
Yeah, I thought it was an awesome race. I like seeing Raikkonen today. You know, the old warhorse getting his elbows out one last time, you could say. It was awesome, especially after the qualifying rush on Saturday. I got good credit. I thought Crofty's commentary was brilliant in that last minute of Q3 madness. And yeah, it was an awesome race. And ultimately disappointed as someone that, you know, likes Ferrari, the way it all worked out. But in a way, I'm not surprised. I kind of saw it coming. I can't lie. I saw it coming. This whole passion thing gets too involved. It weighs too heavily on the Ferrari's shoulders, and it never really ends well. So yeah, and also a shout out to the Williams, I'd say, as well. That's
yeah, I mean, they actually they were in the race for the first time this season. But yeah, no, that was a really tense fight at the front, and I think kudos. After I think all three of us have slagged off Mercedes this year sometimes, and quite rightly, for their strategy work. This time round, they played that pretty perfectly to what they wanted to try and do, which was use their two cars to at least get one guy on the top step of the podium, and they did that quite well. But even, you know, minus that, Hamilton was looking quite on it, and after the race, we saw the Pirelli guys talking about Raikkonen using his tyres up way too quickly at the very start of his second stint, and so either way, maybe I think Hamilton would have closed up to Raikkonen and tried to overtake him, but it was an aid and nice to see that Mercedes actually got a strategy to work like that properly. First time in a while, actually, they've had maybe two cars to work like that, because in the past, sometimes they've only had one car, so it doesn't really work out. And this time it was Ferrari without a two-man approach. That I guess we'll get to that straight away and then get back to the kind of win. Yeah. So the racing incident at the start, and that's what it is, a racing incident of Vettel and Hamilton. I thought a really ballsy, nice move from Hamilton to just send it around the outside, just try and get it over and done with straight away on lap one. Gave Vettel all the room in the world, and Vettel just kind of came in a little bit too hot, in my opinion. He had a bit more space on the left and just started to slide the car almost, and a bit of contact, and then span round completely. I don't know if he could have stopped that spin. I don't know if that was just pure momentum that he hit the side pod, the Merc, and then just completed a 360, but he did. Got damage to his side pod, the barge board area it was, and that kind of screwed him over. He did recover to fourth, but
it was exactly the same as Paul Ricard. This time, though, he came off spinning the other way. Yeah. Like, he didn't take the car out, he just took himself out. But again, it was a car around the outside, just lost at the front end, understeer, and just doesn't matter how much you turn the steering wheel, he was always going to go straight into Hamilton.
He's making of a habit into.
I'm not going to say much. I'm going to wait until we see go team by team, and I'll dissect this.
Well, if we talk about the actual the overtake itself, I did think that that's probably one of the ballsiest moves Hamilton's made in a while, because I think a lot of people have criticised him, and even I have, about how punchy he's been on the opening lap. And the fact that everyone knew, I think including him, that if he wanted to win the race, he did have to ruffle the feathers of the Ferraris and get within them. And I remember 8 years ago, I think back in 2010, he tried it in the McLaren, and it came off worse. He came off going straight off into the Lesmos because he tried to get within the Ferrari. So it's not an easy thing to do. And the fact that he did manage... Yeah, 2010.
Broke his suspension, didn't he?
Yeah, he broke his suspension on the back of, I don't know whether it was Massa or Alonso.
But he was on the inside. He was doing the Vettel.
Yeah, so if anything, it is proven to be quite hard to be on the inside line.
Yeah,
but I've got to give it to Hamilton for the move he made and the fact that he managed to pull it off. It has raised a few question marks over Vettel now in terms of going forward in the championship, but we'll probably pause that. But it's nice to see some genuine racing, and the fact that it showed that even though the faster car, or the faster two cars that managed to lock out the front row on Saturday, can get ruffled. And this is why I think Red Bull like to sit on the hopes that the race is a different day, because if they can get within the mix, it does pan out the race quite nicely for Mercedes in this case.
Yeah, well, on the note of Mercedes, then we'll go kind of down the running order. And so Merc, like I already mentioned, like tactically really sound. Hamilton, we talked about. I think a few people were saying afterwards on like the F1 Live thing, like a silent assassin almost, just kind of sat back, especially with that whole Bottas blockade thing, and just kind of slowly reined Raikkonen in. Then had the tyres. Unlike Raikkonen, he was too hot on his tyres, and you saw both Ferraris actually struggling with blistering on the rears. Hamilton had a lock-up on his front left, but it wasn't as bad, and the rears were pretty good for that Merc. So. I think Mercedes, like Ferrari did in their backyard at the British Grand Prix, not too far away from Brackley, Mercedes HQ, come and do it the same thing. And I think it's kind of nice, swings and roundabouts of kind of like just swings through and it comes back this way for Merc. So
this was Lewis Hamilton's best race of the season for me.
Yeah, I would agree.
And that move around the outside is one of the overtakes of the season, because of what it means. Exactly. Context, lap one, max fuel, cold tyres, outside line against your main championship rival in his home, in his team's home race, and the way he done it. I got massive props to Hamilton this weekend. I think it was an 11 out of 10 performance from Lewis today.
He's
he
showing
really
why he wins.
Didn't put a foot wrong, and I was very blunt, very vocal on Twitter earlier today. You can say what you want about the Bottas blockade, and I'm a Ferrari fan here. Lewis was going to win that race no matter what happened. So you can forget about the whole Bottas blocking thing or whatever. Mercedes absolutely pulled a jackmate when it comes to Ferrari. Strategy-wise, they could have gone for the undercut. They could have gone for the overcut, which they did. They could have gone with the overcut just only one lap when he did that fast lap and then could have come in, but instead he went very long. They went for the Bottas block option. They could have even got that potential VSC when Ricciardo retired. They had so many options. Like they had Ferrari just in a corner.
That's what Toto Wolff was saying afterwards.
And at the end of the day, listen, for me, racing incident, the incident at turn 4, and if you have to portion any blame, again, it's on Vettel's side, and ultimately that cost the team strategy, because 2 cars against 1, you're going to struggle. So Mercedes done a number on Ferrari, and they deserved the performance. And also, I think it showed. I don't think Ferrari are as good as people say just yet. Mercedes are still the champions for a reason. They definitely improved this weekend compared to Spa.
Mercedes have the upper hand strategy-wise. Because, have you noticed, earlier in the season, I think obviously Austria is the obvious strategy blunder from Mercedes. When they're pinned into a corner, Mercedes do start to see issues. But do you know when they've pinned another team into a corner, they really relish it. Like, you've got to give your hats off to James Vowles and the rest of the team for the fact that they had so many different, like all the opportunities that Tom just listed off there, so many different opportunities strategy-wise to get past Kimi Raikkonen with even just 1 car or 2 cars. And the whole Bottas blocking, and I know Bottas is getting a huge amount of flack from the Ferrari fans. I mean, shout out to all the Twitter fans, because everyone in the comments are being nice, but Instagram and Facebook, just leave them, because they're a whitewash of just pure Ferrari fans calling for stupid penalties and stuff, and calling out Bottas. And I think even Maurizio Ivabene actually called out Bottas, calling him a butler. He says, we don't employ butlers, we employ drivers. which is ironic to say that Raikkonen's been put on similar sort of strategies before. But the fact that Bottas was used in that way, I mean, Bottas has just kind of sucked it up now and realised he's not in the championship fight. And Hamilton completely outdrove him that weekend, like completely. I think he definitely outperformed the car more than the car being quick. Because I think Bottas was miles off. But, you know, I don't think Bottas was even much of a factor. I still think, because Raikkonen still blitzed his tyres coming out of the pits.
I think that's
so he still would have had blisters. Yeah.
It's just that blister.
There's no question mark over it.
It was they got played. They thought, you know, Raikkonen comes in, it's going to be a 1 lap overcut in the next lap. Try and get him, and he tried to respond 1 lap later, 1 lap later, 1 lap later. In that time, you know, Lewis was just waiting basically, and he got played. Simple as that. Like I said, it was checkmate, and in more than one way, in more than 1 or 2 or 3 ways, it was, you know, tricky. But I'll give a shout out to Raikkonen. I love the move of the race was his one around the outside, re-overtaking Lewis.
Yeah,
it was cold.
Yeah.
That was smooth.
That whole sequence.
Even though that like caught me off guard, the fact that Raikkonen had re-overtook. Obviously, I went apeshit when Hamilton managed to get past, and then when Raikkonen got past again, I thought, shit, we've got a race in our hands, and it's nice to see that. Like, we don't see that often.
Scrap.
When do you ever see 2 changes of the lead on one lap?
And then after that, it was just great to see them two run 1 second of each other, pretty much the entire whole stint until the pit stop. So
8 tenths apart, pretty much. Like nothing to separate them at all.
Really, really good. But yeah, so he's spoken about the Mercedes half, then getting on to the Ferrari half, he kind of, you know, merged the 2 teams together almost. But yeah, I mean, Raikkonen, it was good to see, you know, after especially the pole, it was just good to see him kind of maybe a bit, you know, just fully right up there, because he's been there or thereabouts sometimes in the races and stuff like that, but a lot of the times he's not pulled it together on a Saturday. How many times did we say earlier on the season that he needs to do better on the Saturday, and this time, fair play to him, he did pull out of the bag and didn't fall asleep on a Saturday, and so fair play to getting that pole. It was great to see, and also, you know, for all the Kimi fans out there, it was great to see them kind of be happy for once with what he was doing, and then, yeah, tried his best on the Sunday, but like Tom mentioned, if you have 2 cars v1, it's very difficult, especially around Monza. It's difficult to do something about it when you've got that slipstream and tow tactic. You've got the tactic that Merck pulled of just basically having Hamilton sit back and analyse, these are 3-5 options to do. Pick one that we want to do.
Yeah. I mean, Kimi did a perfect weekend. He even got a good start around a track where you're probably the most vulnerable, besides Spa maybe.
Yeah, true.
He actually survived, so... You know, got the pole, got a good start, controlled the race, stayed ahead after the pit stops, just the tyres let him down. So it's unfortunate. I think you could feel almost like a Raikkonen resurrection this weekend. You know, like the amount of fans that were genuinely happy for him to get that pole. Because to be fair, in my opinion, that pole had been coming this season, because at times he has shown he tended to bottle the Sector 3, but he's shown that he's done some fast laps, just never really got it together.
Can we... Go on, sorry, finish your I was just going to say, just like, because I think these 2 topics, the major topics from the weekend concerning Raikkonen. I mean,
transfer.
There's the qualifying incident, which I thought was quite interesting from Ferrari in terms of how pissed off Vettel was that he gave Raikkonen a tow 2 laps in a row.
I don't understand that personally.
Yeah, you can, to be fair. I mean...
The same as Ricardo with Verstappen Austria, same thing.
Yeah, it might be.
No, but the Ricardo
thing.
one's a little bit different, because Red Bull have a rule in place where they alternate race weekends of like, okay, so it's you this weekend, it's you this weekend. Vettel just, I think, felt like, okay, I've done it twice now in the Q3, like when it actually mattered, I've done it twice. Yeah. But that in itself was kind of like, obviously Vettel is built, you know, the team is geared around him, and so when the strategy plays off where he's giving his teammate the advantage, I think it would piss off anyone. I think people overreacted to that, because it's like, of course, Raikkonen's not in the title fight, Bottas not in the title fight, and Martin Brundle said it perfectly pre-race. There should be no doubts. Each team should be pinning. Okay, it's all on Hamilton. It's all on Vettel. There should be no question. Like,
made a good reference to Hockenheim. How they
exactly,
kept Vettel
literally.
behind
I think
Raikkonen
Brundle
so
mentioned
long.
Hockenheim. Like,
yeah,
they put Vettel in a situation where, yes, he still made the mistake, but he might have been under less pressure to make that mistake had they actually focused on the actual title-winning driver potentially.
And any doubts basically trips you up in the race now.
Exactly,
like, i.e. Hockenheim. So you don't want that doubt going into the Grand Prix. You want to know that you're favouring one driver, but if you like Kimi Raikkonen and you get pole, what do? You can't just go, oh yeah, you did well. You set the fastest lap of the whole field, but let him by. Like, that's just...
For the race, it's a
can't
different
do that.
matter. For the race, it just started with qualifying full stop. That
Yeah,
shouldn't have
true.
been the case. I think they should have given Vettel the toe on the second
One.
run because Kimi
Yeah.
had
At
already
least
got
one
the
run,
first.
yeah.
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 I think it's only fair. I think he's got more than enough like land to stand on. He's got a good enough leg to stand on to claim that he should have had at least one run in Q3.
But also,
I think it's interesting though. It's almost like the shadows of the past haunting Ferrari. Their old tactics, which they were so hated for. It's almost like they having second thoughts about whether to do these sort of things again, and it's
Meanwhile, Mercedes.
actually affecting them now. Whereas today, like you said, Bottas literally got a full-on. Yep, Bottas, we want you to just completely hold up Raikkonen here.
Hold up Kimi, yeah.
Yep. So,
but also, I think what will be interesting to talk about is the state of Sebastian Vettel, because I think even Vettel fans, there's a certain amount of Vettel fans that are starting to accept
He's making
now that
too many mistakes.
if you want to go up against Lewis Hamilton, and bearing in mind, I'm trying to list off the times when Hamilton has made a mistake this season, and I can't think of one. I can't think of one yet.
And look, when Hamilton builds momentum for a championship, he does not make mistakes.
Yeah.
The car might fail him, but he does not make a mistake when he's built the momentum of 2-3 races of like, okay, cool, we're on the final stretch of the title run. It's now up to the cars. Because I'm going to be on maximum. Like,
even
he is bulletproof.
I mean, it's the fact of how I think this idea has been thrown around, the fact that the amount of times it's been put on a plate, and we spoke about it loads of times, how much it's been put on a plate for Ferrari, and they trip over their own shoelaces, and who's going to be picking up the pieces. It's always Lewis Hamilton, and we're talking about weekends such as Hockenheim, where Ferrari do look unstoppable, and then somehow Hamilton wins. It could have been anyone in that field, but the guy that started in 14th still somehow managed to come around and get get the full 25 points when one of the Ferrari is in the fence.
The fact that this has been one of Ferrari's strongest years in ages, the strongest year of the V6 era, and that Vettel is trailing him by 30 points or more, whatever, is just diabolical.
Especially versus last year, in which Vettel was ahead at this point. I think.
And this is a better Ferrari car.
And this Ferrari's unstoppable. It looks pretty much unstoppable in the dry. Obviously, it is calling into question some of the luck that's coming Hamilton and Mercedes' way because of the weather. For example, in Spa, where we all sat in the grandstand thinking,
that was a big coincidence.
That's a certain Ferrari pole, Even Tom, you said to me, Kimi might be getting pole. And I thought, Kimi could probably get pole. And then the rain started to sprinkle, and you're not really going to look past anyone apart from Hamilton to get pole in the wet. So it does seem, and it's fallen into Vettel's hands now, where he can't be making these mistakes, i.e. Paul Ricard, i.e. Hockenheim.
He cannot make them now.
Well, no, he needs to now...
There is no he can't be making. He just cannot make any more mistakes.
He needs to be aiming for the win every single race now and hoping that Raikkonen is there in second and Bottas can do something, or the Red Bulls can do something to push Hamilton down the pecking order.
Yeah. It's a 7-point haul from first to second place. So it's a 1-2 for the next few races, and there's a 30-point stake on the table. You can do the math. Vettel needs to win 5 races.
Yeah.
And there's 7 to go.
He's going.
And there's 7 to go. So Vettel needs something. And to be fair, and I tweeted it and I was very blunt about it, as much as I think it could happen, I don't think Hamilton will make another mistake, or he won't make a mistake this season. He is bulletproof. He is consistency. It's not going to happen. So Vettel has to honestly he needs to just do the job. Simple as that. Because
and also, sorry, go on.
No, go on, fine, go.
And I was just going to say that Vettel, did you not get a slight hint that Vettel got a little bit rattled when Kimi out-qualified him? Just a little bit.
No, because I think I think I can understand why he was pissed off about it.
Maybe because it was Italy?
Yeah, I think
but
Vettel, after winning Spa, fully expected to go into qualifying and get in pole and potentially win the race, and when he didn't even get the platform to, you could argue, go for pole, I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. The one race where Ferrari have to get it perfect. I mean, they've been very good this season, but in their home race, that's one where you do prioritise Vettel or whatever you have to do and make sure you secure that W.
I mean,
the fact they've got it wrong in qualifying.
Just away from that, it's just like you get the win at Belgium. This is the perfect time, straight after the summer break.
Momentum.
You won the first race after summer break. These needs to be like one of those points in the season where you look back at Wikipedia, back at the season, you see Vettel 3 times in a row to build that momentum, and it's just not happened straight away.
Ferrari don't
Hamilton's
do
shot that.
momentum. They aren't good at building it at all.
No, I mean,
I don't think it's rattled. I think this is no different to, for example, Hamilton's radio outburst in Austria.
he's just pissed off for this weekend.
It's just one of them things that happens because you just get vexed. There's no way of saying it.
Yeah, he just got vexed this weekend, and rightly so, really. Well,
It's just an interesting thing to see Vettel like this because we never really saw it at Red Bull. To be fair, the crazy stat was if he won in Monza, that'd have been his third different team to win in Monza as well. Like he's got an incredible record behind him, and on his day, and even at the start of the season, he's unstoppable when he is in his zone. But I don't know.
When you talk about the errors, ultimately we're going to look back at Hockenheim because that was 25 whole points he could do with right now, which he's completely not. Like he would be 5 points behind Hamilton, even with what happened today. We would not care. The Hockenheim one's going to be the one that he is going to regret for a long time. For me, going to the next race at Singapore, it's not even a slam dunk Ferrari because the same as Monaco, Red Bull are going to be quick around there. Yep. Mercedes will struggle as expected. Ferrari should have the pace, however their car does have a longer wheelbase, unlike last year's car. Therefore, they should go backwards a little bit. And Red Bull, you can't forget, like Monaco, Ricciardo just turned up. So it could be, again, the case of, Ferrari do slap Mercedes, but then Red Bull turn up and they get first and second. So at best, Vettel gets third.
So
you know what I mean?
Austria. It could be a random track. It doesn't even have to be Singapore. It could be any other track on the rest of the calendar.
Singapore is the best track they have left now to outscore Mercedes and Hamilton.
But you'd never have guessed Austria for Verstappen, so you can't really put your money too much on anything. But that's Formula A. I mean, we've got Red Bull to speak about.
I mean, Ricciardo clutch issue, so that's not even a Red Bull. That's not even a Renault issue. It's a Red Bull issue that retired Ricciardo.
Pour one out for the guy, man.
So
pour one out. Give him some rice.
I think Ricciardo, once he found that, I think he'll be like, thank fuck I'm leaving this team. When he got back to the garage and found out what the issue was, because they didn't really tell him whilst he retired. But I'm sure he's been told now that it was a clutch issue, so i.e. Red Bull's fault, not Renault's fault. So
you can see it wasn't an engine because it wasn't the same sort of smoke as an engine failure. It looked like more like
and
just
then
like a smoke.
Verstappen had a decent enough race. Obviously, got a bit hot on the colour with Bottas and squeezed him off on the left. Got a penalty, but then I love his stubbornness of like, I'm just going to fight Bottas. I don't give a shit. And to be fair, Verstappen's not in a title fight. Red Bull are nowhere near a title fight. So you may as well just have some fun and just stay ahead of the guy you want to stay ahead of on the track.
But Bottas was too smart. He just didn't bother overtaking him because he knew he was going to get him anyway.
Yeah,
he was just like, no, there's no point now.
It was a touche. All right, if you're not going to be passed, I'm not going to pass you. We can both play that game, mate. Don't worry about it.
I did find it very funny about on the Sky commentary when I think Brundle and Crofty literally the lap before said, "Oh, if that was Verstappen, maybe at the start of the season, he might have swung across the braking zone, took a Bottas out." Literally the lap later, Bottas was going straight on. That she came was like, "Oh, I wonder what happened." Oh, it's Verstappen moving in the braking zone. And like today showed a lot of delusional fans, but still the Max Verstappen fans came out in force and went, "Why did he get a penalty?"
Said the best on commentary. He left enough room for a 2016 Dimensions car, but not a 2017-18 one. He didn't leave enough thickness for those cars.
Speaking about Verstappen, though, obviously we didn't get to really say it because we didn't do a podcast then, but we were at Spa and the Verstappen fans went outside the circuit, whereas when it's away from the racing, they turn up. They are amazing.
You lot are wild. We've experienced Hamilton support, and maybe every lap that Hamilton goes round, you might get a cheer, and Verstappen didn't. But then outside the circuit, oh my god, he has got
great.
himself.
We went to this Verstappen party on Friday. It was Friday. The qualifying hadn't even happened yet, and they were all going mad and throwing a big party rave at their
fireworks
Verstappen part of the campsite. It was great.
Yeah, I think you said the best, Carl. Inside the track, I think Hamilton still has it, but outside, Verstappen fans know how to party. No other way of saying it. Just they know how to
and they know how to get drunk.
Throw it down. Yep.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
no. Spa literally blew Silverstone out of the park for like a drinking experience at a circuit. It was great. It was great.
The
But
drunk
anyway,
Dutchies were hilarious.
Yeah.
But anyway, right.
Anyway.
Should we move on to Formula B?
yeah, Formula B, and it would have started with Romain Grosjean, but he's been disqualified due to
Yes, he has.
breaking a technical regulation of the floor, and it's a new floor for Grosjean, so that's bad on Haas. Apparently, it was a confusion because Haas thought they had enough leeway time to fix it by Singapore, but they were mistaken and they believed wrong, and they should have fixed it for here, but they did not, and so he's been disqualified, and so he would have been 6th. He is now not, and so it's Ocon in P6, Perez P7. Sainz up into P8, Stroll P9, and that elevates Sorokin up into P10. So we'll get to those guys. But Force India,
Well, first of all, shame for Grosjean. Let's be honest.
I mean, there's nothing
P6.
much to say to be. It's shame for him, but I mean, that's
That's-
it.
Yeah, he's not relevant now.
No, but
Yeah,
he-
anything
like,
about
for him-
anything about his race is now just been chucked out of the window.
No,
Like,
but
cool.
he needed that result, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because of the
In
driver
terms
drive.
of the performance he put
Yeah.
in, fair play.
Although
but
to be fair, honestly,
Points
I
down,
don't think. I think his days are numbered already. I think.
You're cold. You're cold. No feelings.
Aarav is ice cold.
Ice cold.
You don't
Again.
care about the Frenchman.
No, I don't anymore because
He's not about the baguette.
Because I think there's too many other good options for Haas now to take.
That is true. Yeah.
But Force
Um,
India,
Fair play.
yeah, their second race in F1, they're doing amazingly,
Wow, what
aren't
an
they?
amazing debut. Well, the
Double
second
digits,
race-
2 races in a row. I mean,
Racing Point, Force India, what a team, what a team.
I mean,
that
can we
merch.
comment on Spa first? Because I nearly leapt out of the grandstand.
Spa
in
qualifying
excitement
was
when
something
Ocon-
else for Racing
When
Point.
Ocon nearly took the race lead, what I'm saying is,
Oh
on
yeah,
lap
in the
one,
race, yeah, that
I
camera
nearly.
shot.
I think Aarav was next year. I nearly jumped out of my seat. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh my god, please
I
Ocon be in the
distinctly
lead.
remember
I
you
love
jumping.
Ocon so much. But yeah,
He
fair
was happy.
play. I was very. I love Ocon, and the fact that he might not have a seat next year pisses me off so much. If there wasn't a Hamilton on the grid, I'd support Ocon. I just love him to bits. I think he's a brilliant driver, and
he will
is that-
be on the grid. And I've heard a rumour of where he's going to be. McLaren.
See,
There's
I've
a
heard
big
that
there's
as
a
well.
big problem about, because you know this whole mental driver shift that was meant to happen for this race.
Oh yeah,
The big problem is the MCL33 cannot fit Ocon in the car because he's too tall.
how does it?
They'd have to restructure the entire
fair,
car.
yeah.
Therefore, they're basically having to like do a plan B, and they're going to basically what's going to happen. Ocon might end up at Williams for this season, and then next year he'll go to McLaren because they're going to have to readapt how the car is for him.
It'd be very
That's what I've
ironic
heard.
if they changed the car and it got quicker.
I mean,
I
it
mean,
wouldn't be
it's
the
short
first
drivers,
time.
goddamn it.
Yeah,
It's not the first, and it won't be the last, Alonso. Sorry, mate.
yeah, that's
It's them
true, but-
things.
Yeah, Force India. They've had another solid weekend, 6th and 7th.
They've already re-overtaken
And-
Toro Rosso, so
Which is mad to say that they've only just started scoring
It was
points.
a
from last
great turnaround
weekend.
from Perez on Sunday compared to
oh
qualifying.
yeah,
He was-
major.
shocked at
They
qualifying.
shafted that on Saturday here at Italy.
I mean, getting knocked out by 1,000th is a bit harsh, but you know
And
that's
clear
what
by
elimination
2,000.
qualifying's all about, and that's what the
Q1
knockout
was so
qualifying-
close.
yeah,
It-
Q1 was very, very
Jesus
close. Very,
Christ!
very
Like
close.
I've never seen such a close qualifying, and I've never seen such a close race, to be honest, because there's been so much overtaking in that midfield. I could barely keep up. But also shout out to Perez as well, because I know he had a bit of damage after. I think he went off, and no, I think
No,
it was when
Magnussen.
Magnussen went off and he overtook him. Surprise, surprise, Magnussen getting in a collision with someone.
To be fair, for me, that was more Perez's fault. He went into that very
yeah.
last minute. For me, it was like a.
Really? Magnussen started squeezing
Yeah.
him towards the grass
Yeah,
after
he
he
did, but-
came back
as well.
on track.
I'm with
He-
Arav on that one.
But for me, the space was always going to close because Magnussen had already committed to the inside to defend.
No, but for me, it's a case of if you're driving along on the normal circuit and you see someone come back on track, you know they're going a little bit slower, and
Yeah, I
the
understand that.
instincts to I'll just overtake them because they are going to be a bit slower. So that's why
Yeah.
he went
Yeah.
to the right because Magnussen swiped to the left as he came back on track quite fast.
And even then, I think Magnussen left the car width. I think Perez, again, similar to Hartley at Canada, had a bit of oversteer. And then obviously swept
it was
up
a bit
into
of a squeeze on the
Magnussen.
exit, but racing incident anyway. Fair play for Perez to go in for it. Even though I'm not entirely sure, they never showed a replay as why Magnussen and the Toro Rosso of Gasly
Yeah,
went
both
off
cars
in the
went off.
first place. So if
Yeah.
it was Magnussen hitting Gasly, then that wouldn't be a surprise. But yeah, a solid points haul again, and they've got momentum now, really, which is good to see because they dropped off, didn't they? And now we never really wondered why.
Well, now the team that's dropped off a little bit is Renault.
We say that, but these tracks do suit them. We'll see.
Yes,
when we get to Singapore, we will see if they are still, racing.
Yeah, I'm hoping Renault make a bit of a resurgence at Singapore because they dropped off here. They weren't really there at Spa.
I think they went pretty well here. I was surprised.
For the first part of the race, the final result doesn't really show it. I think.
No.
I'm hoping that Renault. I think what they're doing is also pumping a lot more resource into next year's project, and so aerodynamically that car's not receiving many up. We haven't really seen any kind of on Twitter. There's no new bits and bobs for Renault lately.
Also, a little caveat on Renault this weekend. You know how Hulkenberg's DRS failed, like Ericsson's, as a precautionary thing. They went back to a higher downforce wing.
High downforce.
So the fact that they got 9th with pretty much.
8th.
I think like a Silverstone-esque wing is pretty impressive, actually, rather than their Monza spec wing. So, 8th now. But the fact that they managed to get solid points, because I think the first time Sainz ran that rear wing was Q1. So, fair play, to be fair, just to jump straight into it. And Sainz was like, yeah, this is not bad, actually. But yes, they have dropped off. But I don't think these tracks would ever have suited them. Really.
No. I mean, obviously the Renault engine is just gonna be a little bit down.
Plus, this C-spec engine that they have bought, that Renault
didn't
use,
run.
Apparently was too unreliable, which is why Renault didn't use it.
Yeah, I think it was only Verstappen and
Ricardo.
Ricardo.
I think only Ricardo ran it. I don't think.
Because I saw a tweet. I saw a tweet post race about Renault were tweeting about Verstappen using a C-spec as well. But
to be fair,
I think Renault got it wrong because they didn't use it.
You could see when he was banning Bottas, that Red Bull was actually going quite well on the straight. It wasn't that bad.
But have you seen the size of their wings?
Yeah, I know, but even still,
it's like paper.
It was alright. It was alright, but yeah,
I think
you always.
wing, which is
I think
fat.
in Italy, you always have to take that pinch of salt of just quickly look at how thin Red Bull run at Monza. I think that engine still has a decent amount to make up.
To go. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But okay, moving then to the very surprising team that we've hardly really talked about this year at all because they've been nowhere. But Lance Stroll and Sorokin now due to Grosjean's disqualification. Sorokin gets his first points in F1 and Stroll comes home in 9th. I would say they're going to be very, very happy after a very depressing season so far.
I'm happy for them.
Stroll's last race in the Williams car, he's ended the chapter well. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
He's basically done that and sort of said to everyone in the process, well, look, can't you see I deserve the Force India seat? Look at that, P9. Give me that seat. Yay.
Yeah.
And that's what Sorokin...
it's nice to see that
I'm very happy
made
for him.
a little bit of... Yeah, I am as well, because he's been plugging away all season, literally not making any fuss at all, just learning, gaining experience, and he wasn't that far behind Stroll. I mean, to be fair, Stroll had probably one of his better weekends, and I think everyone suddenly jumped on the high horse that Stroll's amazing now. Because obviously,
unpopular opinion. ...
Yeah, pay driver. We'll see. I mean, he's not gonna be too popular with the seat he's gonna get at Force India, but Williams need that little bit of resurgence, and I think the whole team had their eye on Monza, and the fact that they have picked up points is what they needed. But have they fully understood their car? We're gonna have to find out in Singapore when they.
That's going to be a big no from me. They're going to be right at the back again.
Yeah, they probably
right
are
at the back again.
Back again, yeah. And then move on to Sauber. Obviously, Ericsson had that really shocking crash in practice, so that was quite scary. But he got out pretty fine. But it was quite a spectacular crash and very weird DRS issue there. In the race, then
I was shocked. They were nowhere this weekend.
Very quiet race for the Saubers, really.
Like even Leclerc said, like in FP3, he got best of the rest. He was 7th in FP3, and then Leclerc said on his Instagram, the actual qualifying lap was one of the best of his career, and he only got Q1.
Yeah.
From FP3 to qualifying, they just didn't turn up or something.
You know what's interesting though, is the fact that they've got the Ferrari engine, which has made massive step forwards, and you think they did them well around Monza.
I think perhaps they're not at that point. This is where their car comes into play. I think they don't have enough natural aerodynamics with their chassis to bring skinnier wings to really run that Ferrari engine to the max, I think.
Here's the thing. That the engine in the Sauber and the Haas right now is pre-Austria spec. The engine, what I'm saying is, let me explain myself. So, engine-wise, yeah, it might be the same, but the big reason behind Ferrari's big gains since Austria and how they've magically found pace to actually be ahead of Mercedes now, apparently it's in the fuel in Shell.
Apparently,
Shell. They found around 20 horsepower in the fuel, and it's given them a solid 0.3 of a second. And that's where they've made a big stride. And obviously, only Ferrari run Shell, not Sauber or Haas. So they can't get that performance boost from Ferrari that they have. That's the reason why it's the power upgrade has not really trickled down in the same manner, so to speak, with all the Ferrari
They need to get themselves some new petrol then, basically.
Petrol, yeah.
Petrol
in the car.
Yeah, it was just a shock to see them so far off at a power circuit, being as Ferrari's been making such huge gains with their engine, and now apparently are the best on the grid.
Because that's why, like everyone was saying, there's got to be something illegal on that Ferrari car. They've done something because there was visually nothing people could see. So obviously, everyone's thinking, they must have broken a rule.
Yeah.
It's
ERS.
So that's why it makes sense, because I think even like me, I was like, what have they done to find so much pace in like these last couple of races at Hockenheim? Had so much pace with their Hungary. Turns out, fuel. So that's why you can't really you can't visually point that one out and say, oh, that looks weird.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the rest of Sauber. Just fair play to Ericsson for not.
Hopefully, we're back again in Singapore.
Not having the issue.
It might go a little bit better in Singapore.
Also, just
McLaren,
worth mentioning. I was going to say before we go McLaren, worth mentioning. It seems like in the last 24 hours, Leclerc's a Ferrari driver, official.
Oh yeah, it's.
Well, we'll see. Still waiting for the actual official.
I've got a feeling. I said it on Twitter. Raikkonen's wife's tears when he got qualifying. I kind of feel like it meant something. And if Raikkonen maybe had won today, we might have heard an announcement. Maybe, just saying. But he didn't win, so maybe wait a bit longer. But maybe. I think by Singapore we might know something. I've got a feeling.
Yeah, I mean the story was that a contract was already signed by Leclerc, and
with Marchione, with the old Ferrari boss.
Yeah, with the old Ferrari boss, and so there was a bit of tension about whether the new boss and Vettel and all these other people in Ferrari would be wanting to backtrack on that. But it looks like the new boss is wanting to honour what Marchione's signed with Leclerc, and so it looks like we're just waiting for the official announcement. I don't want to really say anything until it's actually official.
I do want to say this new boss has given me This new boss has given me a good feeling in sense. Apparently, also this whole budget cap thing, because Marchione's not given that quit threat anymore. Apparently, this new guy is more open to negotiating budget caps and all that sort of stuff. So that's a good thing. I heard that.
And I think for 2021, more than like they're talking now about backtracking on the engine, that's fine by me. I think the bigger thing they actually do need to solve is that budget cap. I think that makes a bigger difference than the engine right now as we are, and also along with the aerodynamics. So yeah, it's really good to hear. But yeah, we'll go to McLaren, which Alonso went home early to watch the football clearly or something like that.
Good performance in qualifying though. Got Q1.
Yeah, P13. That was decent to say it was a McLaren.
I mean, again, listen. I'm not gonna beat a dead horse, but I saw a stat. His qualifying record against Van Dorn in the last two seasons is 23-2 or 23-3, something like that.
It's big.
I've said it before. Alonso is not a qualifier. He never has been a good qualifier. He's a Sunday driver, so it's bad.
It's
really
very
bad. There's no way of saying it.
Yeah, that's where you see the issues. But
Van Dorn needs a result. Like he needs a result.
I just keep flip-flopping though about the fact that I think something's still wrong with the setup of that car for him, because I just keep flip-flopping. Like I feel like 2 races ago, just as we go into the summer break, I was fully like being like, okay, Van Dorn just needs to. I think it's his time's up. But then I flip-flop out of like, but at the same time, you just don't lose talent like this. Like talent he had, like his record going into F1 was one of the best records you could ever have for a junior driver, and you just don't lose that kind of talent overnight or over a year.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I hope he gets signed up by someone for next year and can find his feet back and find his confidence back, because it's being shattered this season. And it's just really annoying to see, because I feel like he still has speed in him. It's just nothing's going right for him right now.
It's a shame to see, but it depends what seat he ends up in, whether it's a Toro Rosso, whether it's a McLaren.
Yeah.
The way that sounded,
on
I kind of want to just insert but I still love you.
Yeah. We like him, but I mean, the stats are against him, but I think everyone with a bit of common sense and everyone that knows about the whole McLaren issue and the fact that they don't know why his chassis is slower, and they've got data to prove it's slower. Why that's just a very
if he can go to Toro Rosso,
mistake.
If he can go to Toro Rosso and clear his head, that might be the best thing he can do. If he can somehow get a Toro Rosso move.
Too. Yeah.
And the more I think about it, the more that's the only thing I can see that's going to help him out of this thing, because McLaren is it's really bad. Like I mentioned before, the Ocon apparently the rumor is he's too tall, so they can't modify the car in any way to get him in there.
And Van Dorn,
it's bad.
That's fingers crossed for him.
Also, Van Dorn wasn't too bad today, race-wise. 13th, wasn't actually last, like actual plumb last.
I don't remember seeing him at all during the race, though.
He just quietly went about his business, yeah. And then Toro Rosso, I guess, the last team. I was really impressed by Gasly in qualifying, and then obviously in the race, it was kind of just like over one lap. Yeah, you can pull out the stops and have the engine at max, but then in race condition, obviously the Honda just couldn't really keep up. Gasly did have some good fights there. He was defending from Ricciardo actually quite well until eventually it looked like he got the definite call of Pierre, just let him through, please.
But to be fair, Gasly is one of the only drivers that's exposed Ricciardo when he's late diving manoeuvres.
Yeah, he did really well. He parked it in the middle to stop him from faking or anything like that.
And he stopped when he nearly T-boned him, and I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
I winced when he dived because... You just see the car coming. You're like, they're gonna crash. Like they are going to crash.
Yeah, there's a couple of times where you're like, okay, they're fucked. They're fully fucked.
I was expecting one of the cars to be backward. Like, I mean, to be fair, that Red Bull's got some tough suspension. That's all I'm gonna say. It's got some of the toughest suspension on the grid because I think the Red Bulls have had quite a few taps with it, and it doesn't seem to break. So, fair play to Red Bull and what material they use with their suspension arms. But it's a shame to see him drop so much after a brilliant qualifying. Because he was ecstatic after qualifying.
Yeah, it was. I was really happy for him to drive that car up like that. It was a really great lap from him. And then on the other side, more bad luck for Hartley at the start.
Not his fault again. This guy.
It's. I really hope. I hope for the sake of, just because he's had that much bad luck, he just does get re-signed, just so he can hopefully actually prove himself. Because he's not actually this bad. It's just he's had so much stuff go wrong for him.
He was an absolute passenger in this
incident. His crash, can I just point out, was one of the weakest crashes I've ever seen to see suspension break.
So you talk about Red Bull's suspension being strong. Clearly, are they taking suspension power from Toro Rosso and using it for their cars?
I've never seen a suspension break so easily before.
That was made out of digestives.
It was made out of PVA glue.
It crumbled.
PVA glue stuck that on.
Paper mache PVA glue.
I mean, his race lasted about 100 meters.
Yeah, it's a shame. So hopefully, I think Toro Rosso might go a little bit better at Singapore. That's gonna be good. I mean, they had a really good result with Sainz at Singapore last year. So hoping that Gasly and Hartley can go well around there.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
But pretty much rounds off the entire grid then. I don't know, like round up then, guys, Italy. Yeah, really enjoyable and looking forward to Singapore now, coming off the back of that. I think that race definitely reinvigorated the kind of fire and tension in F1 after what was such a mediocre Spa race, I think.
I got an appreciation for how quick the cars are in the sense of the laps in qualifying. I loved how, genuinely on the edge, trying to turn the wheel to the point where you get the corner done, but you scrub the least speed possible.
Yeah.
Like all the finest of finest details to gain those thousandths of a second, which means a Q1 or a Q2 appearance, or whether that's pole or P4 on the grid. So I got an appreciation from Monza in the sense of these V6 cars. It's if you've got a close pack, the detailing and the precision is elite levels. Yeah. And it's so good.
And that's where the world champions shine through. And that's how you win world championships as well. And if you do make mistakes...
That was two shots. Pop.
Yeah, that was bang, a pop and a pop. But I've got to agree, especially after seeing the cars in real life as well. Like, you don't realise how on edge... I mean, sitting at Pouhon, there wasn't much action. If you're wanting to go to Spa, Pouhon's good if you want to see the cars on edge. If you want to see action, then...
We didn't even see that, though. We missed the Q3 was wet. I was looking forward to a Q3 in the dry, just seeing them absolutely bomb it and it rained. So I can't complain, but I would have loved to have seen the Mercedes and the Ferraris flat out Q3 at Pro and just seeing the car visibly tilt on its side
Yeah.
because of the downforce. But still, it's awesome, man. Awesome.
Mental. And moving forward to Singapore, I mean, we've kind of reignited the season a little bit after we dropped in Spa. I mean, Hungary wasn't the best, but we had a brilliant European season. We've had some incredible races in the mid part of this season.
Now it's time for a pretty exciting end of all the
Yeah.
flyaways.
We're
It's
into the
gonna be
flyaways.
real intriguing at Singapore, but we'll leave that to the next podcast because it'll be an off-race one, so we'll wait and hopefully there will be some news to talk about, and then we'll do the preview for Singapore. But this has been the kind of long overdue Italian Grand Prix one. Like we said, there wasn't much to talk about Spa. Obviously, lap 1 was crazy. I think all of us kind of stood up in our seats like, Jesus, hell, we watched it. Yeah, I mean, not much really to say about
Couple
that.
of nice moves from Bottas, and that's about it.
Yeah, and Verstappen inevitably getting through the Force Indies, and then just us at Puon seeing the car. We could see the cars coming in and then leaving, and just visibly seeing that gap get bigger and bigger from the cars was quite depressing. So that's a thing. But yeah, I think that's pretty much.
Some,
I think the
Patreon
highlight-
questions. Just questions.
Okay.
Yeah, of course,
yeah,
yeah.
sneak
But
a
that's
Patreon
it for
question
the
in.
race talk, obviously.
Right, okay.
I was gonna say the highlight of Spa was the just the Aru slides. You know, just insert video clip if not refer
Oh
to.
yeah. If you haven't
our
seen
social
the
Oh
media
yeah,
slides,
yeah. I posted on my Instagram story. It's probably gone by now. It's like, no, actually, I saved it as a highlight on my Instagram, so it's on there. Yeah,
And also Lando Norris, of course.
Well, yeah, we had some fun. We had some fun with those slides, and then we had some fun making some drunk chants up for Lando Norris. So that was good.
Which we noticed, we got acknowledged for, which was good.
But
he gave us a
into,
wave.
we'll get into Patreon questions then. Obviously, if you are new around, you don't really know. If you want to support us directly, you can do on Patreon. There's a link below, and if you do to a certain amount, you can get into our Discord server and you can ask some questions. So here's the ones that we got asked just before recording this. So Greg Schofield's asked, "Is the grid walk overdone?" And some of that should be relegated to the past because he thought it was super cool back in the day, but he feels like it's
brilliant
rushed
question. Yes,
and awkward
it's
now.
shit now. I thought that.
I agree with that. It used to
Yeah.
be better, like
used to
just
be
5
brilliant.
years ago.
Yeah. They don't speak to drivers anymore. They just speak to the people that have managed to blag their way onto the grid.
They just need to give it 10 more minutes of TV time.
Yeah, it's because they've changed the way that they do the build-up. They keep changing the procedure to try and help out TV broadcasters. That's why it's 10 past the hour rather than on the hour. But they don't speak to any drivers anymore on the actual grid. They get more out of the drivers when there's like Natalie Pinkham in the pit lane and catching them going to and from the toilet.
It's a double-edged sword because that's why the whole, when they interview on the driver's parade on the bus all the time and they upload that to YouTube or they live stream it on Twitter, I think they just do it in different ways now. So it's not really.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
I
I think
think
it's a bit.
just
Yeah, it's a bit.
different
It definitely
experience.
is a bit meh right now at the moment. We got Redbat asking, can Vettel overcome the point gap with his apparent bad luck slash cracking under pressure? What is? Well, I think that's one part of the question. So that
I
guys.
think we can all give an answer each and a reason why. I think that's probably the.
Yeah. I think.
I've got my answer. If you
Go
want,
on,
I can
go. You go, Tom. You go to.
No, he's made too many mistakes, and Hamilton will not make a mistake from 19th of the season. And I don't in a way, I don't like Hamilton, but I don't want him to retire due to a car failure, and the title be decided that way. So, for me, it's just not going to happen.
Cal.
I basically agree. I think Hamilton. I mean, I'm shocked hearing Tom say that because he's the Ferrari fan here. But I've got to agree. I think Hamilton's in a league of his own at the minute in terms of the way he's driving, the way he's not making any mistakes. He's getting Iceman qualities, literally no mistakes whatsoever, and it's showing off because that's the reason why he's got such a big points gap now.
Yeah, no, I think Vettel's he's. I think Rosberg put it great when he was talking just after the post race. He cannot be making this many mistakes against Lewis Hamilton to win a title. It's just not possible, especially this Lewis. Maybe a couple of years ago, Lewis, yeah, sure, but this Lewis is very much in form. You need to be bulletproof, consistent with him, and that's not happening.
I feel like I jinxed Vettel because right after Hockenheim qualifying, I said I've never seen Vettel so in form. Ever since then, it's not gone too well.
Yeah, but he had a few mistakes before as well. Then and like it's weird.
It was only really France.
His
to be fair.
attitude's been amazing this year, but it's just in the race. Some of these decisions are just not great. But what is wrong with the same person? Redbat. What is wrong with Red Bull today? Clutch failing. Why is there such a big reliability issue? I guess this year really compared to last year.
It's
really.
packaging. I think it's packaging. The way they try and pack that Red Bull is aerodynamically sound, but reliability-wise,
Which is
down.
interesting because Christian Horner was asked a question on Friday about the Honda engine from Brundle. They're like, how are you going to package that? I'm sure Newey will
I
shrink
remember
wrap
this,
the
yeah.
Honda engine. And
Yeah,
Horner's
yeah.
like, no. Honda, we've told Honda, just go for pure performance. Make it as big as you want. Just go performance, horsepower. That's what we want. And we will try and shoehorn that engine into a package.
Good idea.
Yeah. Probably
McLaren
better.
should
Yeah,
have,
I think they've learned from Toro Rosso,
McLaren should have taken a note of that.
Because I think they've
When they
learned
had
from
a
Toro Rosso. Because Toro Rosso this year worked with Honda, and I think they've had no major issues of that, and they packaged it with Honda's work. So they've learned from McLaren as well, of going too skinny.
Let Honda get it small, in their own time.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
for now,
yeah.
they need to get that performance. To be fair, right, is Honda's reliability even that bad anymore?
No, it's
Like,
not.
They take some engine penalties,
no,
which is fair enough, but you don't see them break down in the race anymore.
No, it's not major breakdowns, but it's still, obviously, they still have a lot of work to do. But it's nowhere near the embarrassment levels it was when they were with McLaren.
Wasn't McLaren level now,
They've
but-
made really good steps in that front.
Yeah.
I mean, Redbat's kind of suggested maybe down to staff, bad suppliers, bad QA. I think Red Bull are too good of a team to have that kind of issue. I think really is maybe a case of the packaging and...
I do think that they're a bit arrogant when it comes to their aerodynamics.
There is a whiff of McLaren about it. in the
Literally,
sense
I was
they
just
wanna-
gonna say then,
They
yeah.
they want to pin it all on the engine, but they've got a few things to look in the mirror about themselves when it comes to their
maybe
car.
just the way they operate. I don't think aerodynamically. I think aerodynamically they're still bulletproof, but I think like the way they
Newey's cars haven't always
package.
been the most reliable. I'm just saying
No,
that now.
that is very
Because
true,
when he was in
actually,
McLaren, his McLarens weren't, and they still ain't, but then they weren't
Even the
always the
Red
most
Bull back
reliable
in the
cars.
day, though, that wasn't bulletproof either. How many times did Mark Webber's
Alternator.
Kers fail?
Or
Yeah.
Vettel's alternator.
Yeah, and that, yeah. So I think it's a deep down Red Bull philosophy rather than a quick fix, which is what McLaren ran into and are still running into now. And they've got themselves. So I think if Red Bull don't want to end up like McLaren, I feel like they do need to take a step back once they shoehorn that Honda in, and just give it a bit of breathing room and let Honda get on with their thing, and then the performance will come.
I think they're good enough to make up for it in other areas of the car. So and that's going to be it for the Patreon question. So I think that'll be it for the entire podcast then. So guys, if you have enjoyed it, hit that like button. Let us know what you thought in the comments below about any of the topics we talked about. Of course, we're doing an off-race one next podcast, so I'm assuming there might be some news to talk about. If not, we'll just basically preview Singapore then, but hopefully there is some driver talk news because there's a lot of hubbub before this Grand Prix and going into Spa, and nothing's really transpired fully yet. So here's hoping some juicy stuff can happen before Singapore, because that's kind of all where last year that's where it all kind of went down. All the kind of driver talk news was just before Singapore, and then it all happened after Singapore. So let's see. But I mean, if you are new around here, then do get subscribed to this channel for the podcast. Check out these two and myself. Links on the screen right now to our Twitters. And like I said, if you do like what we're doing around here, you can support us on Patreon. Links below. Obviously, we're also on audio on iTunes and SoundCloud. Those still going strong. Thank you very much for any of you guys who do listen on the go. We appreciate that. Links in the description below. And finally, if you do fancy getting yourself a racing chair for like your office, your desk, or if you want to play F1, the new F1 2018 game, then you can check out GT Omega and use the code PitlaneF1. That will get you a little discount at checkout. But that has been the Pitlane Podcast for this one for the Italian and Belgian Grand Prix. Again, huge apologies for the 2-week delay, but now I want to say asterisks. I think hopefully till the end of the season now we should be good to do the normal scheduling once a week. After the race, off race ones. I think we should be good for that. But obviously, just circumstances of us actually going to Spa did not help, and then me going to Milan did not help. But hopefully, it should be normal now. And so hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll check you guys next time. Goodbye.